and gentlemen, my name is Miss Media. This is the Nerd Room, and it is the end of the year. And you know what that means, top 10 lists. Today, I'm going to just dive right in and do them all at once. I'm going to be doing my worst movies ever. I'm going to be doing my worst anime I've seen this year, my best anime I've seen this year. I'm not doing a top 10 best movies list because I've only seen 4 movies this year, which I didn't think suck ass. Everything else is just really, really bad. I'm not going to be putting the movies in any particular order, mostly because I don't like to order movies when I do these top 10 lists. I have plenty of material to do for a top 10 worst movie I've seen list, but I'm just not going to put them in any particular order because I don't think that Can I pick a worst movie I've seen this year? No, I can't really pick a worst movie I've seen this year, so I am just going to do them all in any particular order, but I do have a top 10 list. First, before we start, I will do the top 10, the best movies I've seen this year. The 4 best movies I've seen this year, because there are only 4. It's not a list, again, but starting with The Christmas Chronicles, a movie I thought was very cute. I actually really liked the idea. Basically, the conceit of the movie is that this little girl, it's your usual, everybody else doesn't believe in Christmas. Her father, I believe he died? Yeah, he just died. And she doesn't really have anybody else to celebrate Christmas with this because her brother is withdrawn and he's kind of gotten in with a bad crowd, and her mom isn't really around because she's working, and I kind of thought that was a bitch move to be working on Christmas. But basically she's alone she's basically alone, except her brother is told by her mom that he has to stay home on Christmas, which why can't you? But so it's, how do I put this? Those short TV episodes where the kids decide to catch Santa Claus? It's basically that, except stretched into 2 hours. I did like it, actually. I thought it was very cute. I like the fact that the leads can act, which is unusual for kids movies, because in most of these kids movies the kids are not good actors, but actually Darby Camp is a really talented actress. I was genuinely surprised. I don't remember the name of the person playing her brother, but yeah, she's actually quite good, and I'm shocked by that. But yeah, she's likable, she's cute. I can understand her wanting and her motivations. I can understand her wanting to keep her family together for Christmas. I also like the idea that Santa Claus isn't just some fat giant, like he's an actual person, and he basically is like, I have elves and I have toys, but I'm not some bloated weirdo who, it's nice. It's a subversion of expectations, and I, for some reason now, just headcanon Kurt Russell as Santa Claus in like every movie. I really, really, really want Kurt Russell to play Santa Claus from now on. I don't really know him well as an actor, but yeah, I want him to play Santa Claus in like every movie because he's so good at it. And there's him rustling up people's spirit scene. I want to say it's trite because a lot of it is very telegraphed, but it's cute. And I also love the fact, and this is something that put this movie up there for me. In most of these movies, they don't explain the magic. They don't explain why Santa Claus can do what he does. They don't explain, how he gets from house to house. In this movie, they explain that. And you actually see that he's kind of magical. He can just basically turn to soot. And I think that's a really, really clever idea, especially because I'm always like, how the fuck does he get down the chimney? Like, how does he fit down the chimney? But it actually makes sense, if he can turn into dust. And I like the CG. The CG was actually very good. I'm surprised at how good the CG was. But basically, yeah, it's a really cute Christmas movie. I don't usually watch Christmas movies, but this is probably up there as one of my favorites. Secondly is a movie called The Last Rose, which in verse to the Christmas movie is a slasher movie, which I saw a few nights ago and I thought it was really good. It's an independent production, and for an independent production, I actually think it was pretty good. I love the idea of setting a slasher movie around a reality show, because it's basically Unreal. If you've ever seen the show Unreal, it's basically Unreal with slasher elements, and I love that concept because the drama behind a Bachelor-like show is a perfect breeding ground for psychos. I do think toward the third act, it kind of gets a little bit rushed, and they basically just start plowing through, like people start dying off screen. At one point, the killer kills like 4 people at one time just to get them all out of the way. And it does get a little bit stupid, because at the end they like, oh, still keep filming, yeah, people have died. A little bit, but I actually do find that plausible for how unscrupulous producers can be. Oh, people have died, but we're just going to keep going because we have a season to produce. I actually think that's very plausible. I do think the killer's motives are a little bit, not weak necessarily, but they're kind of underwhelming. But I get where they're coming from. I get what they were going for, and the gore effects are actually very good. Not only are the gore effects very good, but I like the fact that the kills are not overly complex, because in a lot of these movies you see people getting their guts ripped out and body parts ripped apart. There was a decapitation, but it's very, you don't see it, like you don't actually see it, and I think that's very much more effective than actually seeing body parts rolling around. That's one thing I don't really like about new slasher movies, is the fact that it's just basically a gore fest where people are getting ripped apart, and I like the fact that the kills are kind of understated in this movie, and I think that makes them a lot more effective. It's a good movie. It's not the greatest movie, but it's good. I really, really enjoyed it. Bullet Train. I liked Bullet Train. I did think the third act kind of dragged. I thought it got to the point where it's like, okay, can we please end this movie? Just please. Just get it. It gets long. My favorite part of that movie are the twins. I really wish more of the movie would focus on the twins, because they were so much fun and they were so adorable, and I love their dynamic. I loved how funny they were. I did not know that the one playing Tangerine was not British. Like, I legit did not know that. I thought he was actually British. So it's kind of fun to see him in a role where he's playing a foreigner and you don't realize he's not, and we're like, wait a minute, Brian Tyree Henry is American. Oh, that's different. I also like the conceit of these kind of movies where it's not just one story. It's 6 or 7 stories which intertwine and fit together into a cohesive narrative. So you have to watch it, and everything connects. And this person, even the water bottle, gets its time in the spotlight. The water bottle actually has a purpose in the movie, and I really like that. Everything in this movie has a purpose. Everything in this movie connects. You can't say, oh, well, this person was useless. No, nobody in this movie was useless. Nobody in this movie, they all had a part. Even the attendant, I really, really enjoy movies like that. So I really like this movie. Third act was a little bit draggy, but I really enjoy movies where just everything is connected to each other. And finally, we watched Bride of the Monster. I have never, and this is something for me personally, I've never disliked Ed Wood as a filmmaker. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's the worst filmmaker ever, and I'm sitting there thinking, you have not seen bad movies if you think Ed Wood is the worst filmmaker ever. You have not seen The Incredible Bulk. You have not seen Birdemic. You have not seen The Room. You have not seen shit if you think Ed Wood is the worst filmmaker ever. He actually gets people with talent. Like, he actually gets legit people who can act and who are very, very, very big name to be in his movies. Not only that, but the people in his movies can actually act, and they have a plot, and it's cohesive. It may be stupid, but it's actually, you know, it's a narrative. So count your stars you have not seen some of the garbage that I've seen. I've seen some pretty garbage movies. If you think, there's a movie that's coming out that's called Cocaine Bear. I wish I were making that up. There's a movie coming out called fucking Cocaine Bear. There's a movie called, what was it? Shark of the Corn. It's basically a shark stalking people through a corn maze. I wish I were making that up. There is a movie called Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus. I wish I were making that up. There was a movie called, what was it called? Rax, something Rax. Oh god, the one with Ian Ziering. Oh god, what was it called? I forget what it was called. But basically, it was a really bad movie, which was parroting. There's a lot of crappy movies, right? If you think Ed Wood is the worst director ever, you have not seen garbage. You have absolutely not seen garbage if you think Ed Wood is the worst director ever. I've never understood that. His movies are fun, at least. At least his movies are fun to watch, whereas some of these movies I've seen are just really, really cringe and really stupid. So we watched Bride of the Monster. It was really stupid, but it was stupid in a fun way where you could kind of riff on it. But basically, those are the movies I've seen this year. Those are the good movies I've seen this year. And yes, I do count Bride of the Monster as a good movie because it's so stupid, it's funny. On to the crappy. So I'm going to count you guys the 10 worst movies I've seen this year in no particular order. Starting with a movie I watched over Halloween, and y'all are going to be really, really, really disappointed in these first two movies because I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I watched Sleepaway Camp over Halloween. Oh my god, this movie was so fucking boring. This movie was boring as tar, okay? And this had the same problem, in my opinion, as, say, what's it called? Friday the 13th, and that... Oh! That's not true. Scream. Sorry, I forgot one. Scream, 6, I believe it was, came out this year. Scream 5 was amazing. I love Scream 5. Scream 5 is my second favorite film, right behind the original. Scream 5 is... I also like what they did with the killer. I like the fact that you know, she's seeing, you know, Billy's her father. I like that. I like the fact that they're using the you don't know where he's coming from to plan expectations. I am one of the minority who's convinced that Dewey dying was on purpose. I think he purposely went out of his way knowing that he wasn't going to come back because, because he was giving them enough time to escape. I genuinely think that was a self-sacrifice, and he knew full well that he wasn't coming back from that, and he was giving them enough time to get away. I am convinced that was a self-sacrifice. A lot of people argue with me on that point, but I'm convinced that was a self-sacrifice. But yeah, so the 5 best movies I've seen that in are Scream 5, Bride of the Monster, Bullet Train, The Last Rose, and The Christmas Chronicles. 5 best movies I've seen this year. Now moving on to the worst. And keep in mind, these are the movies that I have seen this year. These are not necessarily the movies that that came out this year, because I don't go to the theaters that much. But anyway, these are the worst movies I've seen this year. I don't think we're going to make it to 10 but we will do the worst movies I've seen this year. So, as I said, starting with a movie which I saw over Halloween, and I thought it was boring as fuck. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you'll like it. I know the idea of a trans killer is a wonderful, really, really different idea. It is. The problem is that, actually, there are two problems with this movie. One, 90% of the movie, nothing happens. So for 90% of the movie, we're just kind of sitting there, and I'm just going, can somebody die? Like, people don't start actually dying until, like, 45 minutes into the movie, into an hour into this movie, and that's when people actually start dying. The kills are good, which is why it's not the worst movie I've seen this year, because the kills are actually very good. I liked how one of the kills, you don't actually see her die, but you can see the killer. Let's be honest. We all know it's Angela at this point. You can see her holding the girl down, and you see the vibrator going in, but you don't actually see any of the effects. I thought that was a really, really, really cool idea, because you know what's happening. You're like, but you don't actually see her see it happen. You know, it was a really, really, really cool kill, personally. But the first victim in this movie doesn't even die. Like, the first dude, and I thought he was gonna die because he was a dirtbag, but he didn't even die. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, really? You faked this out with a kill that's not even actually a fucking kill? Like, seriously? And that's not the main problem with the movie. With Friday the 13th, I thought it was really boring as tar, but at least I didn't know who the killer was. And I'm telling you this as someone who, I did look it up. I have known, it's pretty common knowledge at this point. I guarantee you, had I not looked it up on Wikipedia, I would absolutely still know who the killer was. They laid this on so thick. Every 5 minutes, it was, why do you have to be a girl? Why are you such a girl? My daughter, my wonderful daughter. And I'm sitting there thinking, could you, like, make it any more obvious that it's that the killer is not actually, well, let's be honest. Also, and I know this is a controversial take, I'm not sure if I think of someone who's forced to cross-dress as a child as transgender. Not because, and Felissa Rose is trans. Let's get that out of the way. I'm not saying that you're allowed to choose, it's your, people are allowed to, gender is eternal. You can say, if you want to identify as a woman, that's fine. I'm not sure it's fair to count someone who was forced or through trauma to cross-dress as being trans. I think that's, y'all can at me in the comments if you want, but personally, I'm not sure that counted, and I think that it's more, I'm not sure that counts for me. I wish they'd actually just made her trans in the first place. Like, if they just made her trans in the first place, that would have been cool. Not because her aunt forced her, but either because he couldn't live with his sister's guilt, or because he was always going to try. I'm not going to go into this further because I don't get flamed, but personally, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I like the idea of saying that someone became trans because their family member forced them to cross-dress. That doesn't sit right with me. But even if it did, it's still obvious. It's still fucking obvious. They lay it on so thick that you could not miss it if you were blind and running through a field with blackout goggles on. You could not miss that twist from a mile away, which is why at the end I'm like, okay, she was originally born the male. Okay, that's not a twist to me. That's blatantly obvious. The ending shot is actually really creepy. I haven't gotten to the sequels yet. The ending shot is really creepy. I like that the ending shot, it looks like, but the movie is forced. It's very obvious, and 90% of the movie, nothing happens. I haven't gotten to the sequels yet. I'm probably going to skip movies 2 and 3 because one thing I hate is movies where it's just like, oh, this person is mad, so they just murder people. I don't like movies like that. I think it's very boring. So I'm probably going to skip right to movie 5. I know with the twist, but you know. Next up on the worst movies I've seen this year is a movie called Beast, which number 2 is Beast. I love the idea of a movie where the whole cast is black. I love that. That doesn't bother me. Obviously not. I don't know why I said that. But the problem with the movie is it drags and drags and drags, and it gets to the point where you're just like, okay, so they're gonna go, and he needs to find a match for his daughter, and his daughter, you know, daughter's now hurt, and the mom's dead, and they're all bitchy with each other, and initially I was excited for this movie because I was like, ooh, you know, another killer animal, but I was just so bored by the end. I don't know why it didn't connect for me. I think personally I would love to see a movie where the protagonists are just the kids, no parents. Like you know that scene in Jurassic Park where the kids are hiding from the Velociraptor? I want a whole movie of that. I want a whole movie where the kids, you know, let's say they go on safari and either the dad goes to get help or he gets eaten or he has to leave the kids, you know, for whatever reason, or maybe they get lost, but they end up, you know, being stalked by killer, whatever it is, and they have to survive on their own. Can we please just do a movie where the kids, and they're all just so bitchy with each other in this movie, and it's not fun. It's not fun. It's really boring, and I was just like, no. Number 3 is a movie I watched because, and I'm not making this up, I looked up James Wallace. I looked up one of the actors from Total Drama, Revenge of the Island, and I was like, ooh, I like him. What's he been in? I am really not kidding you. That is the entire reason I watched that movie. And it's just so incoherent. Half the movie is, I don't even know what happens at the end. Like they're all moving through this place and they're all nasty. They all hate each other. And then like they're trying to survive these traps. Admittedly, the traps are pretty good. Some of them, like, you know, and you don't know fucking thing one about any of these people. They're people. The guy he plays is just a horrible person, and you just like want him to die so quickly. And I find it really weird, really annoying in movies when the first person to die is the lesbian or the black person. Like it's in a slasher movie. I understand. Oh shit, I saw X. We'll get to that. But I completely forgot I saw X. But so that actually makes 6. But when the black person, the lesbian, dies first, it immediately takes me out of the movie. It's fine if they die, but not if they die first. Like it's just, why? And then at the end of the movie, I would sit there with this whole movie, and I'm like, so it's that one obvious dude, right? Like, it's the one older guy. Oh yeah, it's the older guy because it's blatantly obvious it's the older guy because he's the only one who, you know, has kind of stayed calm and stayed stoic throughout the whole movie, and you're thinking, okay, so all the shitty people, you know, who are gonna die, it's not them, so obviously it's this guy. And then he's like mad that they killed his son, but it's never really made clear about what they did. Like, it's never really made clear. I think they were trying to say that they like left him to die, but I don't know if they left him to die. It's never really made clear. So it's badly shot. It's badly acted. The characters suck as people. The villain is obvious. I don't understand I understand his motives. I was rooting for the killer by the end. And the one thing I love about this movie, which I find extremely funny, is that at the end, I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait, what happened to James Wallace? What happened? Apparently he died, but it was so quick, I don't know if I just skipped over it. Because at this point, I was just skipping through the whole movie. Because it sucked so badly that I was just skipping the whole movie. And I was like, I can't with this movie. But he dies and I didn't even notice. So at that point, I was just like, okay, fuck it, I'm done. This movie, Dead of Winter, is terrible. Please don't see it. It's really stupid. It's really bad. Moving on, to number 3 is, Bodies, which I admit I did not finish. I got about 20 minutes into the movie, and I was like, oh my god, these people are unbearable. I cannot sit through this anymore. In the first 5 minutes, the main character called herself a homophobic slur. And I was like, oh god, these people, they're all loud, they're all fratty, they're all obnoxious. And the thing that really bothered me about this movie more than anything else is that I looked up the ending, and the ending was such fucking cop-out. It was such a cop-out, and I'm like, really? This is how you want to end your movie? Like, no, I can't with this movie. It's just loud, it's obnoxious, none of the characters are likable, and I usually don't mind, by the way, unlikable characters in slasher movies or in murder mysteries, because they're gonna die. But these characters are just so awful. They're so rude, and they're so loud and nasty to each other. It's not funny. It's just obnoxious. It's just obnoxious, and I couldn't sit through it for more than like 20 minutes because I hated it so much. Next movie. Another choice which people are going to be really, really, really controversial about. I hated the Batman. I hated it. I really, really hated it. I made a personal boycott to myself that unless a certain character, which I'm not going to go into because I don't think he'll be in a movie like anytime soon, unless a specific character is in a movie, I'm not going to see it. The only exception I'm making is the Blue Beetle movie because I love Jaime. I think he's such a sweetheart. He reminds me a lot of the main character from Generator Rex. But he's so adorable. I love him. He's sweet. He's just so kind. I like his character, and he's basically the superhero version of Venom. But anyway, that's another thing for another day. I really hope that movie is good because I really want it to be good. So, the Batman is written like it was written by an edgy 13-year-old. And everything is just so dark and brooding. And all the characters talk like this. And it's not the Riddler. That's not the Riddler. That's not his character. I'm not even that deep into the DC lore yet, and I know for fucking well that is not the Riddler. That is not his character. That is not how he acts, even slightly. He's not deranged. I almost get the sense that this was not written for the Riddler. In fact, I'm convinced this movie was written for somebody else. I'm almost tempted to say this was written for the Joker, because there's a Joker cameo at the end of this movie. And, like, the whole thing with Selina and Bruce's relationship and how, oh, you to me and I was this, and I don't care. I don't fucking care. The investigation parts were really good. I liked him looking into the murders. But it's just so annoyingly edgy. And usually I don't mind edge, but I don't mind edge usually. But this movie is just so fucking grimdark and so obnoxiously edgy and so like, and they kept throwing in random songs. I forget, it's like, I think one of them is Smells Like Teen Spirit and maybe like Sex and Candy. I love Sex and Candy as a song, but it's so like, everything is just so brooding and dark, and everything is so gray and miserable. It's not fun. It's not fun. It's not fun for me. It's really just so ugh, I hated it. That being said, I do like the idea that they're setting up for a Killer Croc movie. I love that idea. I love that idea because Killer Croc is someone who's never, ever used. And we never see him in movies, so I would really like them to do a movie with Killer Croc. That would be awesome. Moving on. A movie I saw at Otakon called Kuronezumi. I like the idea. I'm sitting in this movie, and basically the conceit of this movie is a bunch of kids, and this movie is Japanese, is their friend commits, well, not friend, the girl commits suicide, and they're all they're all texted to come to this high school, and they're all like, we don't know what we're doing here, and they're stalked by this really admittedly creepy person in a rat mask. And I gotta admit, the only reason this movie isn't the worst movie I've seen this year, and I'll get to the worst movie I've seen this year, I didn't actually get very far in that movie because I was so just, oh boy. But they're being stalked by a person in a rat mask, and I love that the scenes in the middle with the school are really good. Like, the scenes with the rat are really good. In fact, they're so good, I might do a movie where I just fix movies, like how to fix this movie or whatever movie. And I'm probably going to do one on the movie, my worst movie of this year, because I actually didn't finish that movie. It pissed me off so much. But the rat scenes are really good. I love the scenes where they're in the school and they're being stalked by the rat. It's really creepy. It's a really effective mask. The problem is a couple things for me. First of all, and this is just something personally, I don't think, well, actually, before we do that, I'm sitting in this movie, and about halfway through the movie, I'm like, wait a minute, this sounds really familiar. A movie where a bunch of kids who bullied someone are lured to a high school with this person, and we don't know whether it's the person or not. Wait a minute. Oh my god. This is a stealth remake of Slaughter High. Like, I'm not even kidding you. This is a stealth remake of Slaughter High. And Slaughter High was a comedy. At least I think it was supposed to be a comedy. I'm not sure. But this is a stealth remake of Slaughter High, basically. And it's like exponentially worse. And I'll tell you why it's worse. 2 reasons. One, I don't think they do enough to justify her reason for committing suicide. Yes, cyberbullying is a problem, but in Slaughter High, they burn him with acid, they sexually assault him, they beat him up regularly, and they basically torture him. And Simon, may you rest in peace. I'm sorry that, you were not around to see the end of this movie that came out, but you were very good, and you will be missed. But in Kuronezumi, the worst they do is they call her weird and they throw her mask in the trash. That is it. Oh yeah, and they skip karaoke. They don't want to go karaoke with her. And I'm like, this is the reason you kill. I know cyberbullying is strong. I know a lot of people are like, well, maybe they did more to her. Well, maybe they did, but they didn't show it. Literally, the only reason you show them on her committing suicide is they threw her mask in the trash, and they didn't want to hang out with her, and they called her weird. That's it. That's the only reason. And I'm just like, that's not a reason. Like, that's not enough of a justification for me. 1, for somebody to kill themselves because of bullying, and 2, for somebody to slaughter all these people. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna kill you because you... The only thing I can justify is one of the characters, it's implied that she might have stolen her boyfriend. That would be a reason. Because that would drive somebody to... That would make somebody miserable, you know, if I was just an obnoxious person. And this girl was obnoxious. There's that. There's the fact that the justification wasn't enough for me. There's the fact that, you know, this movie is very tame. And I know I said when I started that, what's it called? The Final Rose was tame, but it still showed the deaths, right? This movie does not show half of its deaths. They'll, like, have somebody raise an axe and then she'll scream and then it'll fade to black. And I'm sitting there thinking, you know, this is an R-rated slasher movie, right? I'm pretty sure this is supposed to have an R rating. Why are you not showing any of the, like, is there an alternative cut? Is there an alternative version where you actually get to see the deaths? Because if that were true, I might actually like this movie a lot more. But as it stands, you don't get to see anything. And it takes you out of the movie when you don't get to see any of the people die. And the fade effects are really, really bad. And it's sad because some of the ideas are really good. Like, I love the idea that one of the deaths is, she is, you know, get 100 points in karaoke, otherwise you get electrocuted. I think that's very niche to Japan, and I think it's very clever that they're doing something specific to the culture, which I think is really cool. But basically, this movie feels very tame. It feels very underwhelming. It's not the worst movie I've seen. Obviously, it's not the worst movie I've seen. We'll get to that in a minute. But it just feels very, very underwhelming and very tame. And I'm disappointed because I really, 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 really wanted to like this movie. But it's so underutilized what it had. And then we have another, I've actually gotten a lot of slasher movies, I know. But, another slasher movie I saw this year, which was really stupid, was called, oh god, Slasherette Party. And I watched this movie because I was trying to find movies to watch for a Twitch watch party, which I need to figure out how to get the watch party to work because it's just not working right now. But anyway, it was stupid. None of the characters were likable. They were all just obnoxious. The one person I actually actively wanted to die, I'm pretty sure didn't die. I don't remember if she died because I saw this movie at the beginning of last year. It was really badly acted. All the characters were obnoxious. It was weirdly sexist. Like, it was really like her fiance was weirdly like misogynistic and just, you know, abused the fuck out of her and treated her like property. And was like, oh, once you're married to me, you'll make my baby. And I'm just like, it's so uncomfortable. I don't remember. And then like people showed up, and then they started murdering people, and some of the deaths were just really laughable, and like, it ended up like her therapist was the killer. Like, her therapist was the murderer, and her therapist was like, oh, you know, I wanted to show you that, you know, people can't change, and like, you know, it's an experiment or some crap. I don't remember exactly what it was. Like, oh, you know, I wanted to prove that people could, or some stupid bullshit like that. It was B-rate, it was badly acted, it was badly edited. The blonde bimbo who I wanted to die, I don't even remember if she dies. But it was so stupid, and I don't even think it's stupid in a laughable way, because I tried to, you know, I start skipping through movies I don't like, okay? Movies that suck, I start skipping through because I can't get through them in one piece. So I started skipping through this movie, and I was just like, I want to get to the end. And there's this weird dream sequence at the beginning where she's like, marrying her fiance, and her fiance stabs her for some reason. I guess because he's a pig. I don't know. I don't know with this movie. It's so laughable and it's so dumb. And unlike what's it called? Oh God, well, the last one I just mentioned, Dead of Winter. It was laughable in a stupid way, so I think it had some merit. Unlike the worst movie I saw, and I'm gonna level with you, I mostly saw this movie through clips because I could not sit through this movie in one piece. I could not sit through this movie. I went on Wiki and YouTube, and I know people are like, yeah, that doesn't count. I could not watch Disenchanted. I couldn't do it. I was just, first of all, nobody asked for this movie. Nobody wanted this movie. I don't know why the filmmakers decided to make this movie. Nobody asked for it. The basic gist is that for whatever stupid reason, even though everything was fine in the last movie, they did that thing where in the second movie, oh, now everything, nobody's happy, and Giselle and her husband, whose name I don't fucking remember. I don't remember his name, but they decide to move their family to somewhere called Monroeville, which, first of all, is a really stupid name for a town. I don't know why they decided to do that. But basically, for whatever reason, and I can't for the life of me think why you would do this unless this is so contrived. Her former fiance, I don't want to call him her ex because he's not really on bad terms. I like to think of ex as a bad term, but her former fiance and Nancy, his new wife, gift them a wand which can make anything come true. First of all, I think this is a very bad idea. Why do you have this? Why do you have this stupid thing? And that's my entire conceit through the whole movie. I'm just not the whole movie and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why do you have this? I tried to watch the movie. I really did. But I could only get through clips on YouTube because I got 10 minutes in and I was like, no, I'm just going to go through clips on YouTube and hit the major highlights. So, of course, Morgan is now unhappy for some reason. And for some reason, Giselle is mad that Morgan thinks of her as a stepmother, even though she is a stepmother. I guess because she's from a fairy tale world. Actually, it kind of makes sense because she's from a fairy tale world, and the idea of a stepmother in a fairy tale world is bad. I guess that's why, and they're all unhappy with each other. So for some reason, Giselle wishes for them to be in a fairy tale universe. I don't know why. I have no idea. Nobody asked for this. And it starts to turn her into an evil bitch. I don't understand. I don't understand why anybody was asking for this movie. It was extremely stupid from what I saw of it. It was extremely... It didn't work. It didn't make sense. The whole movie is so contrived. And the thing is, this movie would have worked if Morgan was the one to cast the spell. If Morgan was the one to say, I wish my life was better. That was what I kept thinking through this whole thing. Why didn't Morgan cast the spell? And she sings an I Want song, and then Giselle sings the song. It's Alan Menken, why would you write a song where one of the lines is, and I'm not even kidding you, I'm the top and you're the bladder? That's literally a line if you've ever heard his music is amazing. He wrote that line. He wrote a line where he says, you're the bladder. How did you even, why? And she looks like a peak. She looks so stupid, and it's so contrived. They look so just, I like the song on some level. On the other level, I'm just laughing at how stupid this song is. And it's just, ironically, it's still the best song in the movie. But it's just, this movie was so unnecessary. It was so stupid. But again, before anybody says, well, you didn't watch it, I did try. I did try to get through this movie in one piece. I could not do it. I could not get through more than like 10 minutes of this movie. The baby was cute. That's the one positive thing I will say about this movie. The baby was, actually no, two. The baby was very cute. Gabriella Baldacchino is a very good singer. And I want her to be in more Broadway shows. Is there anything else I can think of? No. No. Those are the best and worst movies I've seen this year. Next year's probably going to be a top 10 list. Because I'll have more to work with and I'll have a better... this was kind of rushed. This was kind of out of the door because I completely forgot to do this until the last minute. I still need to do the anime one. So, Happy New Year, everybody. More stuff coming in the new year, and I will see you tomorrow or Monday, whichever comes first. No, I'm sorry. It's Monday because I release stuff during the week. I will see you on Monday. I'm sorry this is so rambly. I'm trying to work on that, but I will see you on Monday.